Hello, people. How's it going? Well, I used to do this. I used to do the book thing, but I'm gonna go back to doing that because I like talking about the books I buy and stuff, and I like talking about books. As much as I like talking about writing, I like talking about books. Yes, I'm eating them for TV. I love bagels. I'm Jewish. Of course I like bagels. I am gonna do my movie review after this video. Sorry for distracting also. I grew up with this book. This is a kid's book. I didn't read a kid's book. This was I think published in '73. I think when I was 10. That was a long time ago. 72. I was 9. This is one of those books that kind of got me into reading as a young kid. Got me into writing probably on some level. At least having an imagination. He wrote the Shrek books. It's a time for change. So Dominic packs a few things. If I could read it. You know, I love it when they put the stickers on these things. Should have done this before I started, but whatever. Why do they insist on putting the price tag over things that I can't read? It's time for change, so Dominic packs a few things and heads out, letting the world take him where it may. When Dominic encounters members of the Doomsday Gang, he easily foils them in their attempt to rob him. Legend of his victory spreads quickly, and he makes new friends, tell the story of their less unfortunate meetings with the villains. It's a fun book. It's a kid's book. It is a children's book, and he has adventures. He's a dog. He got bored. He decided I'm going somewhere. If you have young kids, this would be good to read to them. They like it. I liked it. I mean, I did steal my sister's original copy when I was a kid, so that must mean I liked it. She wasn't big on reading anyway, but I did take it. This isn't the original copy. The original copy was a hardcover. But I remember reading this as a kid. I liked it. It's a fun story. Good story about a dog seeking adventures, all kinds of fun stuff, meeting interesting characters. It's a book I grew up on. Okay. Assault on Norway, June 1942. Nazi Germany held the lead in the desperate race for an atomic bomb, which is kind of apropos considering Oppenheimer just came out in the movie theaters. Which is sufficient quantity of one critical ingredient the Third Reich could begin in production of the bomb. I'm not really sure they could have. This is the breathtaking story of a tiny band of Norwegian patriots who gambled their lives and the lives of their loved ones on an impossible long shot. 10 brave men who outwitted and outdared the Nazi war machine to destroy the Norsk hydro plant and its precious supply of heavy water. Well, it is a Bantam War book, so it should be pretty good. I love the Bantam War books. When I first started getting into history, or at least World War II history, I would read all the Bantam War books I could find. I mean, they are cool. And the Jove War books. Those are probably the two series I probably mostly read as a teenager / 20-year-old. But I'm always looking out for these books. They every once in a while I'll find one I don't have, because I do have a lot of them. I have a lot of paperback World War II books. I'm pretty sure I don't have this one. I didn't check. But I don't like I don't like passing them up, because when I go back to buy it, it's gone. And I do like World War II. Let's see. Let's weigh the evidence. This is a very easy read for those of you out there who want to study the different versions and the different translations and the differences between them and why one version is better than the other ones, whether you like that or not. It's a very good book. It's a very thin book. But it's very simply read. It's not very big type. Very type. I would picture that one, wouldn't I? I like this book. This book helped me in a lot of ways to form my opinion about the different versions and about the King James and about other parts of Bible scholarship and those who claim to be doing for the Bible and aren't. Sadly, that's partly why the church is in the problems it's having, is because it can't decide what it wants to believe and doesn't want to believe. But I got to this book pretty early in my Christian life when I had one. I say that only because right now I'm sort of just trying to figure out what I believe anymore. Trying to go back. If that makes any sense. Trying to start over. But that book was very influential. It is a very good book. It's very simple to read, very easy to read. It's not very complicated. Probably I shouldn't need a big long video. This is the Message of Daniel, Bible Speaks Today series. I mostly bought this because next month I've been asked to help in the BBS. So I figured I'd do some research, background stuff, get at least a better idea what I may or may not be doing when I'm doing this. I have a lot of these books. I have, about 15 of them. But somewhere around there, I can't see from there. But I do have a lot of these. And they're pretty good. I'm not sure I agree with 100% what he says on certain parts, but I agree enough that it doesn't bother me too much. I think most of you might disagree on the historical aspects, not the biblical aspects. Timelines we might disagree on. Timelines, things like that, maybe mild disagreement on something. But for the most part, the message is accurate. I mean, I can live with that. I can't live with the fact when doctrines are literally changed and mean something else. The Lost Battalion, World War I. In October 1918, the 77th American Division attacked in the Argonne. One mixed battalion of companies from 2 regiments got as far as it could. Germans closed in and surrounding 600 men. 6 days later, after incredible hardships, the wounded and the unarmed, 194 were relieved. If you've seen the movie with Rick Schroeder, this is that movie. This is a good book. The movie's very good. The movie is very good. Very good. It's probably one of my favorite World War I movies because it's done well. It is done very well. This book is very good, of course. World War I is an interesting history. They don't make enough good movies about World War I. Literally over 100 years ago now. But yeah, excellent book. Excellent book. If you want to study World War I and the Americans in it, who wouldn't? My latest Christopher Hibbert book of the English Civil War. The Cavaliers of Roundheads, the English at War, 1642 to 1649. Oh, excuse me. I've read parts of it off and on just because I took it to work. It's a good book. I mean, it's a straightforward history. If you like the English Civil War, he's one of the better authors on the subject. He certainly is one of the better ones. Excellent book. Worth getting. That's all the other books I have. I have way too many. No, I don't. I never have too many books. Another one on the maritime power and the struggle for freedom, the naval campaigns that shaped the modern world, 1788 to 1851. In the history of warfare at sea, no era can match the glory of the Nelson era, during which Britain gained supremacy over her rivals. The Napoleonic France in the Battle of Trafalgar of 1805 and after, which was to find a new arrival in the young United States in the War of 1812. I haven't read this book, but a friend of mine, Andrew, he probably would have read this book. It is the war. It is the naval history. Navy is fun. I did try to get into the Navy. I got the basic training. So technically, I was in the Navy for a few months. But, he was better in Navy history than I was, Andrew. I like the Navy. I always have. This looks like an interesting book. I haven't read it yet, so I can't tell you whether it's good or bad. But I recommend books because I want people to read them, I want people to learn and stop relying on their phones and stop relying on the media and certainly stop relying on the education system. Because it ain't teaching you anything. John S. D. Eisenhower, yes, the son of Dwight D. Eisenhower. This is the first book I ever read of his, the U.S. War with Mexico, 1846, 1848. The early careers of, people like Grant and Longstreet and General Lee and I believe McClellan. Was there, and I believe a few other people I could probably mention. I think Albert Sidney Johnson was there. A lot of basically the players of the Civil War were in the Mexican War. And Grant was right. This war we did provoke. We provoked this war. We wanted that territory. We wanted Texas, and we wanted all that space. It's a very good book, though. It's a very good book. He's a good writer. I like him. He was one of the very first writers I would read when I was really getting into history. Trying to keep this under 15 minutes. And be organized at the same time. The Irish in Minnesota. This is a fun series. I had the one on the Jews, and I have one on the Chinese. They have a few others I'm going to try to get to, of course, but this one's on the Irish, coming to Minnesota. I think it was an Irish. But these books are kind of fun. They're short. They're short. They're fun to read. They're to the point. They're good. I would recommend them if you want a short history of the Irish in Minnesota. Someone home? Oh. Trying to do this when nobody's home. Then we have the General Lee's Army, for victory to collapse. I do have one on the Army of Tennessee. I'm trying to remember because it was called the Army of the Tennessee and then the Army of Tennessee. And I always get the two of them confused because one is Confederate and one's the Union. And I got the one on the Confederacy. I think it's of the Tennessee. Or of Tennessee. Anyway, I'll look it up in a minute. But anyway, this is the Army of General Lee, who, well, I haven't read this book. I was only told it was good, so I bought it. So hopefully it's good. I mean, hopefully it should be. It's a big book. But Civil War is always interesting. All the battles, all the personalities, all the characters. General Lee's Army, which I think he started just believing in his own invincibility until Gettysburg. And then he felt, I keep hearing noises outside. Oh, it's across the thing. It's noisy over here. Some days it's just noisy outside. Good books. I don't easily get distracted. Astonishingly, after 150 years of scholarship, there are still some major surprises to learn from the Army of Northern Virginia. That would be them. The Army of the Potomac is the Union. The Army of Northern Virginia is the Confederacy. I would get up and go get the other book, but I think I'd probably get tired of me doing that. But it is on the Confederacy, the other one I have. I do have one on the Army of the Potomac by you know, I guess it amazes me how my brain just simply goes, what? You know, it really amazes me how I know what I'm about to say, and then when I want to say it, my brain shuts off. Wow, let's see. Jeffrey Wirt, thank you. I actually knew that before I found it. Jeffrey Wirt, he wrote a very good book on the Potomac. This guy, I believe, is a good author. He wrote a book on the General Lee's Army, so it's probably pretty good. I think the one over there, I don't have one on the Army of the Tennessee. So the Union had a tendency to name their things either after the state or a city, which is why Bull Run and Manassas are the same battle, but they're named differently. So the Army of the Tennessee is probably the Confederate or the Union, because they would name it after a river. But those are the books I got lately. Well, at least the last 2 weeks anyway. I like books, people. I like talking about books and trying to recommend. I recommend most of my books because I'm tired. People are too reliant on the internet, too reliant on that stupid little devices constantly in their hands. I want people to think. I want people to think. I want people to read. I want people to think. Mostly think. Have I made my point yet? Thinking. Thinking is important. Now I'm going to probably do my next video in about 30 minutes. That will be on the movie, Sound of Freedom. Well, hit the like button, share, comment, subscribe. Behave yourselves, people, because you know I'm not going to. Later. See you in about 30 minutes.